Hello everyone and welcome back to Immortal Cities, Children of the Nile. So last time we talked about the private homes, middle class, the shopkeepers, and very briefly the entertainers, nothing too important. This time we're actually going to be talking about the government homes and how to provide more advanced services to the people of our city. So it is actually fortunate that we are on the harvest season. So I'll very briefly talk about that. During the harvest season, your farmers go out and they harvest all the crops that they've been planting, as you can see. So they chop down the wheat, the barley, they harvest the onions and the lettuce that they've grown, and they go and they store them in a threshing area right here. So what'll happen, let me go ahead and pause this real quick. So what'll happen is they store them in the threshing area, and then the farmers will get a percentage of it. They basically get paid in the food that they grow, but they don't get to keep all of it because that's not how these type of systems work. So what'll happen is they get a percentage of their food that they grow to both eat and use to buy commodities like the common to buy their common goods. But I mean, since they're farmers, they don't really need a whole lot of common goods. The rest of what is grown gets sent to the people who manage it. So, like right now, this set of nobles, they manage 4 farms. So those 4 farms that they manage, this noble house gets a percentage of that food. It's honestly most of the food. They take most of the food that their farmers grow. The same with the palace. The palace manages 6 farms, so they get most of that food. The only difference is with the townhouse, so not only do the farmers have to pay, that food to the townhouse, but once the townhouse gets it, they have to offer up a percentage of that as taxes. Make sense? So we, the palace, we get the food that our own farmers grow, as well as a percentage of the food that the noblemen grow, that the nobles in our cities grow. That food is then turned around, and we use that. Our palace uses it for their own needs. To buy common wares and luxury wares, just like everybody else. But we also use it to feed government workers. So the craftsmen and the educated elite get paid by us from the palace. So all the food we collect, we then dole out to the craftsmen and the educated, who turn around and provide services back to the city itself, either through basic health services and so on and so forth. But in order to get started with that, the very first thing that we want to do is we need bricks, because bricks are used to build these bigger, like these farmers and stuff, like they build their own houses out of like crappy little mud bricks, so they can support these little tiny places. But in order to get bigger places set up, like the baker, stone carvers, like to get all these larger, more industrial-ish buildings set up, we need better bricks. So to do that, we need to make some brick makers. Now the brick makers we want relatively close to this area, although they don't have to be right on it. You also notice that the brick makers and the bricklayers are the only ones that don't actually cost bricks to build, because that would be ridiculous. So we're going to go ahead and set these guys out here. Do 1, 2, 3, 4? We want 4? I think we do. I'm going to leave a little bit of space for improvements. That's actually why I had that road there. So I like to have a lot of brick makers, just because it just makes it easier later on down the line. Because the more brick makers you have, the faster you get more bricks and blah 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 blah. The other one we're going to need is a brick layer, and that's these guys. Now the brick layers, the way they set up, I mean, we kind of want them like. There's a couple of ways to do it. Once the brick makers make the bricks, man, I'm saying the word bricks a lot, and it's kind of messing with my speech patterns. So let's go ahead and where do we want these brick layers? I definitely want one right here. And one right here. Why not? So the bricklayers, much like the craftsmen, farmers will, decide that they want to move up in life, and they will become, brick makers or bricklayers or just basically craftsmen. They'll move up to becoming craftsmen. So the brickworks needs to be close to papyrus reeds and I think maybe rushes. Yeah. So the brickworks, they'll send, those people will go out and they'll collect papyrus reeds and rushes and clay, and then they'll make the bricks, and then we use the bricklayers to actually place them places. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the video for just a tiny little bit while I wait for these places to be built, and then we'll move on to setting up some basic services. See you guys in a bit. Alright, so the brickworks and our bricklayers are up and running, and we start off with 35 bricks. So, let me go ahead and pause this. With these guys, so pretty much everything else that's over here gets made with bricks. The very first thing we want to build is the baker. And the reason why that is because the baker takes all the food that our government takes in, and it actually turns it into food rations and food supplies. That's how we actually pay our workers, our government workers, is through the bakery. They go to the bakery to pick up their payment, basically, their food rations. So we're going to go ahead and put that right here. The other thing that we want, to get built right away is the priest's apartment, which you'll notice we have 35 bricks. It's exactly enough for a bakery and a priest apartment, because the priest apartment costs 25, the baker costs 10. The other thing that we want to do is we want to actually put brickyards near where those things are being built. And the reason why that is because brickyards every couple of minutes or so are actually supplied, like all the bricks that we have in stock get sent to, or get evenly distributed to all of our brickyards. So we have 35 in this storage area. After like a few minutes, it'll get distributed to our 2 brickyards. And then our bricklayers. Like, see, this guy is going to the storage area to pick up the bricks that we have here. So is this guy. So they go and they pick up bricks from wherever they're stored. In this case, it's the storage area. And they carry them, I think they carry 10 at a time, to wherever they're going to be building. It's a fairly straightforward process. Once the site has enough bricks, then the bricklayers actually get to work building whatever it is that you told them to build. So yeah, let's go ahead and speed this up a little bit. This has 10 bricks already. Now the nice thing about the brickyard that you can kind of exploit a little bit is that once it's full of bricks, if you delete it, the bricks that are there will be evenly distributed among the rest of your brickyards. So you can kind of move your bricks around to your different building sites relatively easily. Alright, here we go. The priest's apartment is being constructed. Alright. We'll actually get into the priest next episode, but I mean, that's the basics of how you set up your government homes. Your government buildings is, the bricklayers. So, next time we'll get into... Let's go ahead and slow this down again. Next episode, we'll go ahead and get into the educated elite. The rest of these craftsmen are pretty important, but we don't really need them right now. So I'll kind of explain them once we actually need them. But yeah, so next time I'll go ahead and talk about the educated elite and the different things we need to build for this priest to actually do us any good. So, thank you very much for watching, and join me next time on Immortal Cities, Children of the Nile.